Today we're in Cabo San Lucas, one of those ports where your day really hinges on how you use a few short hours. We've only got until about 3:30 in the afternoon before all aboard, so we're going to focus on what Cabo does best: boats, whales, and a quick taste of town before we head back to the ship. If you're planning your own Cabo day, this is the great blueprint for how to squeeze a lot in without feeling like you're speed running your vacation. A quick ask: we'd love it if you take a second to click the subscribe button. It helps us so much to keep making videos like this.
Hello, and welcome to beautiful Cabo. We are in the downtown marina. We're gonna explore the town today. We're gonna do some shopping, some dining. We'll show you all the sights. So come join us on Now Go See It.
As your ship pulls into Cabo San Lucas Bay, take a second to look around. The bay is a natural harbor, ringed with hotels and resorts, with Land's End and El Arco off to the left, marking the point where the Sea of Cortez meets the Pacific. On busy days, you might see multiple cruise ships anchored out here, all rotating tenders back and forth like little water shuttles. You'll see small fishing boats heading out, tour boats cutting across the bay, and maybe even a couple of yacht situations that cost more than your house. It's busy, but in an organized cruise port way. This is your backdrop for the day. Because Cabo is a tender port, your day starts with the tender process instead of just walking off onto a pier. Once your ship is cleared, you'll usually grab a tender ticket and wait for your group to be called. Pro tip: if you've booked an early shore excursion through the ship, you'll often get priority on those first tenders. If you're going independent like we did, still try to get off reasonably early. Cabo is one of those ports where the morning goes by fast. When it's your turn, you'll head down to the lower deck, step onto a smaller boat, and that's your ride into town. The trip across the bay isn't long, but it's where you'll want your camera out. Stay alert for wildlife while you're bouncing your way in. We've seen sea lions swim by, birds dive bombing for fish, and even distant whale blows from the tender. A lot of people treat this as just transportation, but you're already on the water in one of the best wildlife spots in Mexico, so look around. The tender ride also gives you some of the first views of the Cabo San Lucas Marina. As you get closer, you'll see the horseshoe shape of the marina, lined with boats, restaurants, bars, and shops. You'll pull up to the tender dock, step out into the controlled chaos of port staff, signs, and people trying to figure out what to do next. And then, you're officially in Cabo. Once you clear the immediate tender area, you'll spill out onto the marina promenade. Think of this as Cabo's main cruise port sidewalk. On one side, you have the water with fishing boats, tour boats, and yachts. On the other, there's a long run of restaurants, bars, souvenir shops, pharmacies, and tour desks. You can grab everything from tacos and seafood to very touristy chain meals along here. There are jewelry stores, t-shirt shops, tequila shops, and people offering you excursions before you've even fully got your bearings. If you're hungry or need a bathroom, the Marina Promenade is a good first stop. A lot of places have shaded patios facing the water so you can sit with a drink, get your bearings, and decide what kind of Cabo day you're having. Also, this is where you'll see a wall of signs and vendors for different excursions: glass bottom boats, water taxis to the beach, sunset cruises, whale watching, snorkeling, diving, you name it. It's a lot of options in one compact stretch. Now, Cabo is one of the best ports in Mexico for water based excursions, and you'll really feel that while you're standing on this walkway. If you're into scuba, there are dive boats heading out to sites along Land's End and beyond. If you're more of a stay on the surface person, you'll see offers for glass bottom boat rides that take you around El Arco and over to the beaches. There's big game sport fishing for people who want to go chase marlin and other fish way out into deeper waters. And in season, this is a prime spot for whale watching, which is what we came here to do. You've got three main ways to book all of this. If you like everything lined up in advance, you can book through the cruise line or through our partners ahead of time at nowgoseeit.com. We'll have links to tours so you can lock in your spot before you ever step onto the tender. If you're non-committal or want to see what the day feels like, you can book right here on the marina once you arrive. Just know this: the first people you meet at the pier are usually the most expensive. In Cabo, prices tend to drop the farther you walk away from the immediate tender zone. Don't feel like you have to sign up with the first person who shouts "Amigo, boat tour" at you. Walk a bit, compare prices, and ask how long the tour is, what's included, and what kind of boat you'll be on.
We were walking along the marina, and then we saw this guy with a boat tour sign. That was a great deal. So now we're going whale watching for $40 each. Sounds good to me. We'll see what we can see. It's humpback whale season, so hopefully we see some of the beauts.
That $40 per person got us onto a small boat with a very young captain who, despite his age, clearly knew what he was doing. The plan was a 90-minute tour, which is a solid length for a port day, especially when your all aboard time is on the early side. What we ended up getting was closer to 2.5 hours on the water, which is not guaranteed, but we weren't mad about that upgrade. As you head out from the marina toward whale territory, you pass a lot of Cabo's greatest hits. Your boat usually skirts along the edge of the bay towards Land End and El Arco, so you get those classic postcard views without needing a separate arch tour. You'll see the rock arch itself, waves crashing through it.
Our boat captain is taking us over to the arch. and it is this amazing rock sculpture in Cabo. It's simply beautiful. Um, and oh, there's a sea lion. Got a sea lion.
And then the two famous beaches. Playa del Amor, Lover's Beach on the calmer bay side, and Playa del Divorcio, Divorce Beach on the rougher Pacific side. The names are pretty on the nose. Lover's Beach is the more protected side where the water tends to be calmer, and Divorce Beach faces the open Pacific where the waves and currents are a lot more aggressive. Most tours will point this out and make a few jokes. If you're looking for a beach day, many of the smaller boats and water taxis will take you and drop you off on Lover's Beach, then come back to pick you up at a set time. Just know there's no real infrastructure there. No restrooms, no restaurants, no shade, so it's for people who are okay with a simple pack it in and pack it out kind of beach stop. Once you get past Land's End and leave the bay behind, that's where the whale watching really kicks in. Cabo's whale season generally runs from about December into early spring, with peak viewings often in January and February. You'll mostly see humpback whales, and depending on timing, you might also see gray whales passing through as they move toward the breeding lagoons along the Baja coast. The short version of the science: whales head down here from colder feeding grounds to mate and have their calves in warmer water, then head back north later in the season. You don't need a full biology lecture to enjoy this, it's just helpful to understand why there are so many whales using this area like a seasonal nursery. On our trip, our captain took us deep out into the Pacific side, beyond the line where most of the bigger tour boats were hanging around. That's one of the big advantages of a small boat. You can maneuver quickly, you can change direction as soon as you spot a blow or a tail, and you're not trying to steer a floating apartment building into position. We were also the only ones on board, as in it was just us and the captain, which was not guaranteed when we booked, but it turned out to be pretty great. It felt like a private charter without the private charter price tag. Out there, you start scanning the horizon for signs of whales. The vertical spout of a blow, a darker shade rolling just under the surface, the slap of a tail. Once our captain locked onto a pod, you could really see his skills. He'd watch the direction they were moving, time their dives, and position the boat so that when the whales surfaced again, we were already in a good spot, without crowding them. We're talking whales surfacing close enough that you can hear the exhale and see the texture on their backs and tails. For us, this ended up being the best whale watch we've ever been on, hands down. No big party boat, no blaring music, just us, the captain, and a lot of whales doing their thing around us, plus that bonus pass by the arch and the beaches on the way back in. Eventually, we had to admit that time was real and we needed to head back toward the marina. Remember, on our visit, this was an early port day. All aboard was at 3:30 in the afternoon. That doesn't leave a ton of extra time after a long whale watch, which is why planning matters. If your ship is in Cabo later into the evening, you'll have more room to add in beach time, tacos, or another activity. On this trip, we really built the entire day around this whale experience and then slotted in a quick taste of town. The good news is we've been to Cabo San Lucas plenty of times before, so we already have a long list of other things to do and see here. If boats aren't your thing, or if you want a more detailed game plan for beaches, taco stops, city walks, and different kinds of excursions, we've put together a full guide over at nowgoseeit.com. I'll link it in the description so you can plan a version of Cabo that fits your own travel style. Back on this day, once we returned to shore, we still had a little bit of time before we needed to think about tenders. We did a quick loop through the town for some local shopping. If you step just a little bit off the main marina strip, 1 or 2 blocks back, you'll often find better prices and more local style shops than the front row tourist spots. The souvenirs feel a little more real and you're not paying extra just for being on the water's edge. We popped into a few shops, did the mental math on how much space we had left in the suitcase, then circled back toward the marina. On the way, we couldn't resist a quick peek into El Squid Row, which is one of our favorite spots in Cabo. It's loud, it's over the top, it's unapologetically tourist, and it can be a very fun night out if you're in the mood for it. On this trip, we didn't stay long, we had that 3:30 cutoff hanging over us, but it's always entertaining to poke your head in, take in the scene, and add it to your mental list for a future longer visit. From there, it was time to head back to the tender dock. We ended up on one of the last tenders going back to the ship, which I don't recommend as a lifestyle choice, but it worked out fine. Give yourself more buffer than we did. Lines can build up as everyone decides to leave at the same time. Once we were back on board, sunburn level checked, camera full of whale footage, it felt like we'd really used our short Cabo window well. If you found this walkthrough helpful and want more port ideas like this, go ahead and hit the like button. It helps more than you'd think. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel and don't miss our other Mexico cruise ports and future itineraries around the world. Check to the description for links to our full Cabo San Lucas guides on nowgoseeit.com, plus our Mexico cruise playlist if you're planning a full route down the coast. Thanks for watching, and now go see Cabo San Lucas.